red color. And I told people I haven't seen anything red. It's a metallic, you know. But then theorists all came out with theory showing that indeed you can get red color, you know. So it's interesting in that. So then after that, they published their transport data, again show the parallel shift of TC under pressure, and that's also very strange. Under such a high pressure, and the transition could be so narrow. And then very quickly in China, Wen Haihu's group and showed that it's not that thing is not really superconducting in the material. And then after that, another group, they're interesting while this is going on, and then the Illinois group, Russ Hamley group, claimed they reproduced the Diaz results as shown here. So then later on, after that, the Chinese group came out and said it's not superconducting. As you mentioned, that's Mao Heguang, who's really the king in high pressure experiment. And originally in geophysical lab, the high pressure diamond cell actually was his invention, you know, on that. And they came out saying it's not superconducting. They can see. So lots of questions raised. And we also looked at it. We could not see superconductivity and so on and so forth. But the interesting thing is this, you know, we did extensive work. And finally, people raised interesting questions, including Nature and Science. They had a report, critical report, questioning the authenticity of the results, even though it's their paper published in their journals. So finally, University of Rochester held a investigation on the whole affair. And then they issued a report in February this year. And the thing is, this report, I don't even know whether it's public or not, okay? So therefore, I try not to show you the details. But anyway, okay. Anyway, so basically, it's saying that it's not superconducting, and also critical of the results, saying that it's fabrication and plagiarism, all the bad words for scientists happens about this publication, about the whole series of publications, 4 papers. They really went through it in great details. For example, I mentioned one of them. If you look at it, they look at it, there are more than 10, 20 points, data points. They wanted Diaz to submit the data, original data to them. And so far, they refused to submit that. But Diaz still thinks, stood by his reports, okay? But unfortunately, some of his colleagues came out and said they didn't know those results were obtained in their lab. You know? So lots of interesting things going on at this moment. So you can see the fabrication and falsification and so on, and also plagiarism and all that, all those words happens concerning the few papers from the group about room temperature superconductivity. So all those things, and then in about the same time, the South Korean group announced they discovered superconductivity with the TC above room temperature and without any pressure. And you see that, and at the time, the whole world was shocked to see this result. And so the interesting thing is that they call it LK99. LK, the first letter of the authors, the first authors, because they arranged in such a way so they could get the Nobel Prize. There was no fight. They arranged all this in advance and going like this. So it's interesting. But then after a lot of study, including our own, we could not reproduce their results. And we reproduced their results, but it could be explained by other phenomena, but not by this thing. Yeah. So to make the story short, so we continue to look at different compounds. And one of the compounds is that the lanthanum nickel oxide, and the other, we are also looking at bismuth antimony telluride. because we think this material, and we can, under pressure, we make a superconducting state, and we believe that superconducting state is a topological superconducting state, because usually topological superconducting state happens in the surface state. It's difficult to get it into a bulk form, and this actually, we think it is, and we're still working on it. And the lanthanum nickel oxide, because it's so similar to copper oxide, strong SEM oxide, so people consider this superconducting. And in fact, people reported superconductivity at 80 degrees Kelvin under pressure. But then at this moment, the compound is very difficult to reproduce and still working hard by people in the world trying to finalize it. But we did find that material can be superconducting, but with trace of superconductivity of at low temperature, under much lower pressure. Okay, what's that? Yeah. Okay. Assuming that all the things I said, some of them are real with high TC, but even under high pressure. But so one of the things you really like to get it into without pressure. So we develop a method called pressure quench. And we can quench this pressure-induced high TC phase without pressure and try to see what happened in that case. So that's what one of the emphasis we have at this moment working in our lab. And this is the bisco compound, the bismuth antimonide telluride. And by applying pressure, the material originally was a topological insulator. It jumped into a superconducting state with low pressure, and then it becomes superconducting. And we think we have stabilized the topological superconducting state. And so it has some implication on superconductivity and so on. So let me see, I should finish at this moment. Okay, with that, I think I thank you for your attention.